again, even just to be clear, I'm practical. That spanking is not to, harm anybody or to like really make a person feel punished, but just a playful way to hold them accountable.
And let me ask you this,
Hmm.
because I feel like you said you have a dominant submissive relationship, and I feel that so many people, just in my experiences, just I mean I talk to women all the time as well, but I mean I have tons of guy friends. I've dated, I've
Hmm.
done my part, but there seems to be sometimes there's a fluctuation between wanting to be submissive and receiving the perks of being submissive, as well as the dominant side. So, can those roles be interchangeable? Or if you're the dominant in a relationship, now you're expected to always be the dominant, or you
I
can go back
love
and forth?
that question. Thank you so much for touching on that.
Oh,
Yes, it is completely interchangeable. There is no one size fit all. This is the absolute way to do things. No, one of the reasons that I love being in control is because I like to earn the opportunity to get the things that I truly want to experience, which is be able to just lay back and be pleasured and be prioritized. You know, and part of that psychology comes from understanding that we live in a world where men are very entitled. Men are very entitled, and yeah.
really? I didn't know that.
And it's this world is centered around men's pleasure, right? If you look at porn,
Hmm.
it's all about the pleasure for the guy. And in the real world, men tend to move with that entitlement as well. So I said that I wanted to separate myself. The best way to get, prioritized or worshipped or to receive the energy and the attention that you want is for it to become in a form of reciprocation. And the best way to get somebody to reciprocate is to lead. The best way to get is to give. You understand? So I like the idea of you knowing there hasn't been, and he's been prior to the relationship that I am in now. I cannot tell you from my own experience that I haven't given my all to a woman and allowed her to relax and just let this experience to be about her, where she did not come back and was like, not tonight. Today it's about you. What you did to me yesterday, I'm gonna, I'm here to put my game down or to like show you, you know what I'm saying, what you deserve or to give you what you deserve. I'm here to get my payback, whatever verbiage or way you want to look at it. But people understand that power and reciprocation when you lead with something positive. So yes, to answer your question, it can switch. I love when I come home from, the dungeon, I get home and I walk in and the lights are down, the candles are lit, the fireplace is on, and the music is playing. And she's like, babe, go lay on that massage table. You had a long day. Let me prioritize you. Let me make you feel good. You know what I'm saying? That feels amazing. And by definition,
Let me tell you,
you-
my little man, he gonna no, he gonna be like, get him back on the show,
yes.
because
And
you
by
no,
definition, I am switching. I am turning it, I'm allowing my
uh-huh.
submissive energy to come out. I'm allowing her to take control for tonight. You know what I'm saying? And that feels amazing. That is one of my favorite things in the whole wide world. But I like to make sure that I earned that privilege because it is a privilege. So yes.
So my next question is, because I definitely want to get to the dungeon part, but I also want to do a clarification as well. So one of the things I was thinking about when we were talking, because we talked about just the I guess the stereotype that a lot of people have about certain things, would you consider, because I heard some of your videos and you were talking about there are a lot of things that we do in normal sexual activity where we don't realize that that's
Yes.
actually part of all of these things. So I'm just wondering, whenever you're thinking about like, we were saying men like to be in control, so there are certain fetishes that all you gotta do is go on Pornhub and there's like 38
Yes.
categories: cream pie,
Hmm.
squirt in your face, this or that, gang bang, whatever. Like there's all these things, right? Are those forms of just actions, and or are they fetishes, or is that part of BDSM? Like what are those specific things that if someone is like, that turns me on to do that,
Hmm.
that is
Yes,
this
it is. It is. It
part
is.
of
It is
BDSM?
definitely falls under the umbrella. I can categorize. There isn't much,
Okay.
or I don't think there's anything really that I cannot categorize under some form of BDSM. I like to look at BDSM as, like, again, the umbrella term. When somebody says I don't like BDSM, that's, to me, that's them saying I don't like food. And I'm like, that's impossible. There, you
Mm.
probably don't like shellfish. You probably don't like rice or this or that, but there's some food that you will not only enjoy, but you will find serving to you. You know what I'm saying? And it's the same thing. So, for example of that, it's like people are quick to say, I'm not into being spanked or, this or that or beaten. And I'm like, well, oh, so,
Choked. I know.
yes,
I
yes,
heard you say something one time about women who
yeah.
say they don't like to be choked, and you're
Mhm.
or they whatever it was, and you were like, but if you like to, oh, they don't. They something you said about
Yes.
asphyxiation and how
Yes,
that
if
correlates to
you've ever
being
had that
choked. And
choke and stroke
yes,
combination while your man is making love with you, or vice versa, that is a definition. That by definition, that is asphyxiation play. That is a form of breath play. I can make you feel choked without actually putting my hand around your throat. Like, I have a process of literally sucking the air out of a person's mouth, right? And it's a very tantric experience. And we do breath play, we do all types of different things that I feel amazing, and they all fall under that umbrella term of asphyxiation play. To going back to spankings, most people will be like, "Oh, I don't want anybody to spank me," but a lot of people have, especially women, have experienced moments where they're making love to their partner, and somebody knows how to spank their ass in a great way. It can really be like the cherry on top for that particular moment, right? I also like to look at, that type of play as a pleasurable pain under the right context. Again, most of the time, if somebody walks up to you and chokes you, you're probably going to want to hit them, hurt them, or something. Right? You're going to be ready to fight. But if
get
it's
some
with a
hands.
trusted partner and they know how to choke properly, and it's just a firm hand around your throat, making you feel like you belong to them for that moment, it can really add pleasure to that moment. So again, the context makes the difference. If I walk up to you while you're in the middle of handling your business and I spank your booty, you're going to be like, again, ready to fight. But again, if it's with a trusted partner at a right time and he's walking past you while you're cooking and he spanks your ass, you're like, oh, you better have. Do you even love me if you don't? Right? So again, it's under the right context that certain things can actually feel good. So there are many different things that fall under different umbrella terms. That spanking of the ass while it's happening during sex or just being playful while you're in the kitchen is called impact play. There's a lot of science behind impact play. When it's done correctly, it's about providing, sensations to the body, but more importantly, providing blood flow to those erogenous areas that make us feel good and help us increase our sensitivity. You know, most of us are familiar with the idea of how important blood flow is to arousal. When a man's penis gets hard, it's just blood rushing to that area, and women get erections too in those erogenous areas. Their clit gets enlarged, it turns from a flower that's hidden to a flower that's like blooming, right? And the same thing for all the erogenous areas. So there are scientific ways that we can push blood to that area, and I try to teach that in my coaching program. I say for the number one of the number one things that I hear is, people having problems with erection. And I'm like, well, there are many different ways that you could stimulate blood flow. Of course, exercise and diet is the number one thing that you can do, but there are some physical things that you can help, push that blood in that direction. I said, have you ever tried impact play? Have you ever tried stimulating the ass and the body and just getting that nervous system to come alive and focusing on other areas of the body to get that blood going? And when you stop focusing on something, it kind of decreases anxiety about that particular area. So there are so many different ideas that we can do that are amazing, that are, again, on the surface, when you hear it, you're like, oh, that's not for me. But when you truly understand how it works, how it feels good, and the science behind it, you're like, oh, I can definitely see myself doing some of those things.
Well, and I also love what you said because, excuse me, I feel that as I'm in this seasoned part of my life, I don't want to say old or nothing, but
Yeah,
I'm a little
yeah,
seasoned now.
yes.
Um, these gray hairs keep telling me, but and I think that a lot of older women that I'm in the middle age, but I know there's a lot of older women where one they feel like sex is no longer important to them. A lot of women start going, especially me with being a nurse. I can't tell you how many women are
Mhm.
perimenopausal, menopausal, and it's like I'm always like, hey, if you're not keeping her awake and working on it,
Mhm.
or now if there's some kind of I don't know when it is when they transition to now they can't be as sexual, or you have, like you said, now I have a male partner who
Mhm.
is also older, and now we're dealing with prostate,
Mhm.
erectile dysfunction, all of these problems. So now both of us, you can't get hard,
Mhm.
I can't
My
get
libido isn't
excited.
where you're right. Mhm.
Yeah, I don't want to put the pressure on you now. And all of a sudden, now we don't have sex at all. So I
Mhm.
love that you talked about that. And I also wanted to come back to the part of where you were saying how you can have a negative experience with someone and a positive experience with
Mhm.
someone else. So I
Mhm.
love that you are coaching that, because I know when I was young, you everybody got them young
Some
story
stories, right?
days. And so when I was in college, I had a really, really bad relationship with a guy, and he was very violent and possessive or whatever. And I know, like, he choked me
Mhm.
and almost threw me over a
Oh
balcony. And I
Lord.
mean, I'm like, yeah, I'm like 20 years old.
Mhm.
So anyway, so I always, my whole life, whatever, like, don't put your hands
Don't
by
put
my
your hand on
feet,
my throat.
on my throat. Like, I always, like, I just had this thing, like, don't just even like putting your hand by my face. I just, it would, whatever.
Right.
And then when I finally met someone, thankfully he brought that out of me,
Mhm.
and it was the whole trusted part. So I love that you did talk about
Mhm.
the how different experiences with different partners, and it's a lot of responsibility to take that leader role on.
Yes.
So when you're talking to people where they're like, listen, I want to be the dominant person and I want to do that, but I feel like it's a lot of pressure on me if I do that, or how do I know that I'm satisfying her? Well, like, what are some of those topics that you say? Because it's like, now you signed up for the job,
Yes.
here it is. So do they ever feel weird about not being able to
So
please their person?
so something that I've learned recently, this statement that I just love it. I was like, oh my God, I wish I would have came up with it. It's called confidence creates competence, right? So what I
Mhm.
love about that is like think about when you learn, for those who enjoy cooking, right? When you learn a new recipe or you have a new recipe or you master something or anything, you're so excited to show it. You're excited to have somebody else experience it. For those who really love cooking, they know what it feels like when you gotta taste this. Come here, baby. Put this in your mouth, taste it, right? It's the same feeling you get when you know that you've prioritized learning something different to bring to the bedroom, to bring to that moment of intimacy. When I say prioritizing, we have to treat it just like a business, just like any other important hobby of ours, any other essential part of our lives, where we actually practice getting better at it. When's the last time you've read a book about pleasure? When's the last time you've listened to a podcast like this that speaks about sexual health and pleasure? When's the last time you've went to a seminar or an event or something where you have learned something? Most of us, especially those who have been in relationships for long periods of time, like you mentioned, as you get older, a part of the reason that the excitement is gone is because there's no novelty. The biggest thing I hear is that we are in a space where it's now a routine. I know exactly how it's going to begin, what we're going to do, how long it's going to last, and all of that. And it's just like,
And that's why they
and
cheat.
this is
Hmm.
why they're cheating. And then we're cheating for novelty, doing the same things with different people until it becomes old again. We need to learn to try different things. And it doesn't, I know so many people feel like everything, when they hear the word try new things, is immediately like butt play for men. And it's like, no, there's
Hmm.
still so many other things that you can learn. Again, temperature play is something that I highly promote. The idea of like, yo, when's the last time you took some coconut oil and you just rubbed it on your partner's, private part? You can give a yoni massage. You get some warm coconut oil, put it in the microwave for a couple of seconds and drip it drip by drip and then rub it in. This is a beautiful massage that you could give to either a penis or a vagina, right? Yes.
I'm taking notes.
Yeah.
I got like 32 notes now. Coconut
You know what I'm
oil,
saying?
check.
You could take a dropper and again take that warm coconut oil, put it in a dropper and just drip it on your partner's nipples while their hands are restrained or they're blindfolded. Again, these people we're a lot of people don't have practical examples of different things they can add to their role play.
And baby steps
Yes.
too, Sir Marvelous. Like those are simple things you can
Yeah.
like. You ain't even we ain't even got to the
Right.
dungeon.
I don't need, right. I don't need,
We just like, hey, 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 can y'all come out and quit being
yes.
prudes? Like, can you just maybe start with
Yes.
some coconut
Because
oil?
coconut, like, and who's a, don't tell me you're afraid of some coconut oil, right? So it's like, and this is why I wrote a book called 101 Ways to increase our foreplay, to improve our foreplay. Literally 101 ideas. So there are going to be a lot of things that you may already be familiar with, some things you used to do, you forgot, like, oh, that used to be my thing. I used to always do that,
Mm-hmm.
right? But then of course there are going to be some things it's like, oh, that's new to me. I never thought about it, but it makes sense because it goes with my style, right? You're already a sensational person. One thing I hear from men all the time is they're all good lovers. Every man claims they're a great lover. I'm like, okay, great. Well, now you could be even better.
Yes,
Imagine.
that's always the selling point
Yeah.
for me. They're always like, oh, well, yeah, I'm okay.
Okay.
Thank
All
you.
right. You ain't got no complaints. That's great. Guess what? You're gonna be, you could, there's always room for improvement. If we're not growing, we're dying. There's no neutral. Life doesn't stop, time doesn't stop. We're either moving forward or moving backwards, right? So you have to, again, um build that excitement, build that anticipation for what's about to happen. So for those, to answer your question, if you are afraid to step into that dominant energy, a part of that reason is because you don't know what to do, and the best way to learn what to do is just to read. We have the world of information available on our phones. Really take the time to not just read the first thing that comes up when you're interested in a topic. Sometimes you got to dive deep, because sometimes the more popular things are not always the best way to learn something. I love
Right.
kind of navigating away from the video with the most views. I like to look at the person who might have a interesting perspective on things, and read what they have to say. Sometimes I like to listen to people that are in the field that I'm in, because most people, again, we don't naturally gravitate towards BDSM and kink, but I think there's so much that we can learn from it. So again, empowering yourself to create that confidence in the bedroom for when you step into that dominant energy will come from the fact that I know that I've been learning things all week, all month, all year. I'm constantly striving to be the better version of myself when it comes to pleasure. I'll say this and I'll end it. Pleasure is not, being a great pleaser is not natural. We have this misconception that from movies and books that, we're going to meet people and it's just going to sweep us off our feet, and we're going to know everything to do. It's just going to feel it, and when we make love, we're going to orgasm at the same time, and it's going to be blissful every single time. And don't get me wrong, there are going to be times where it's going to feel amazing without very little effort, right? But if you want that to be able to be long lasting, you're going to have to communicate. You're going to have to ask a person, what are some things that you would enjoy, or you enjoy with me? What are some things you would love to explore? What are some things I can do better? And then you're going to have to take that journey together to learn different things that maybe you two aren't able to think about right away. This is why I'm a big component of taking sexual quizzes. These quizzes are going to ask us questions that we might have never thought to ask or speak about. And you're going to hear answers from your partner that's like, whoa, that's interesting. I never knew that you would be open to that. Shit, I never thought I could tell or share with somebody that. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And now, guess what? You're building confidence with one another. You got new ideas to try. And this is something that you can do annually, at least every 6 months. When I say prioritizing, treat it like, the way we treat our bodies.
And like
Yes,
your job, they want an annual. You
yes.
got to do an annual thing. Any goals for this
Mhm.
year? Any what?
You got to check
Did you
in.
do?
You are not who you were
Mm-hmm.
when you were 20 years old. You were not who you are when you were 30 years old, and vice versa. Every few years, every year, we're different. Shit, I could talk to you next week and you like on an elevated.
Same. I could be like, oh wait, I saw something. Let's try. Hey, how you feel about this? But you know what I wanted to say too, Sir Marvelous, is that I feel that a lot of people, especially with new partners, I always say this. Like, I hate when I break up with someone, because I'm like, oh my god, all that work
Yes.
and I got to start over again. But I feel that like that whole beginning phase is always you're taking what the last person enjoyed and now you're bringing that into the
Yeah.
next thing. So now it's that whole dialogue. Well, I don't
You
like
got to
this or
relearn.
I don't like that. Yeah. And then then I think, and a lot of people might be reserved, especially men. So men always say we come with
Mm,
baggage. Men come
yes.
with so much baggage as well, because I hate a man that had a
Mm,
prude
mhm,
partner or had a woman that said no to everything, and now you come over to me and I'm like, listen,
mhm,
like, because they have all these
yeah,
stigmas that I'm gonna say
yeah,
no, or we're not gonna do this, or we're not. I'm like, listen, that's not what we're doing over here. Let's, if
right.
we're in a trusted relationship, let's go,
Yes.
whatever. So men come with a lot of baggage
Yeah.
too, just so
We
y'all
have to
know.
learn to always question our perspective on things. It doesn't mean that we have to change our perspective or how we look at things, but at least
Mhm.
be open to it. I was raised by my grandmother, and I don't know, are you in New York? What city are you located in?
I'm in Houston. I'm a
Oh,
Southern girl, so I'm
okay.
Southern Baptist. I'm from Louisiana originally, so
So,
no,
well, I'm from New York City, and
it's a different,
yeah.
opposite
Yes.
worlds. Yes.
So, I was raised by my grandmother, and for a long time, public transportation took, cash, like coins and dollars and stuff, and then they implemented Metro cards. And again, I'm raised by my grandmother. She's real old school. She was kind of scared of everything. It took her a long, long time before she would try to use a Metro card, because she was just so afraid of it. And we have to understand that if I would have just followed my grandmother's steps, I would have never tried that. I would have been afraid of things too. We have to understand where a lot of our lessons and our traditions and our beliefs on certain things spawn from. Sometimes what we think is tradition, and just because it's been going on for a long time doesn't mean it's the correct way. Every part of our lives elevate. That MetroCard example, like we used to go from using change, now I can use my phone to get on these trains and buses and buy my
Right.
plane
Yeah.
tickets.
Now Apple Pay for
Right. You know what I'm
everything.
saying? So it's like
And my dad still, that's so funny because my dad's that way too. I'm like, "Dad," like, and even my family back home, like, someone's graduating this year and they sent me the card or whatever, and I'm like, "Okay." I was like, "Well, what's his at?" I was like, "What's his number? Imma send him an Apple Pay." And she was like, "Apple Pay?" And I said,
it's
"Believe me, he knows what
right.
Apple Pay is. Your old ass may not,
They
but
still
he
send
does."
in cash. I'm
He
like,
does.
listen, man, you got to be understanding that like things where everything is going to improve over time. And again, everything isn't
Mhm.
for everyone. That's not what I'm saying.
And it's
It's
okay,
okay.
like, that's the whole point. You should be evolving
Hmm.
in life, but
Hmm.
anyway, we're
Yeah.
gonna we're gonna talk about everybody and all their trauma and baggage and PTSD. Okay, back to
Yes.
BDSM. Okay, last question. I wanted to talk to you about your
Yes.
dungeon because that was the thing that caught me in
Yes.
the
Yes.
DM was the dungeon. I'm like, dungeon? And I swear, let me tell you, the funniest thing is after you sent me that message about the dungeon, I started on my algorithm, I started
Oh, they
getting
be listening.
this it was like some kind of
Yes.
cabin somewhere, the red
Yes.
something
And
cabin
it's
and
one
the
of it's
something
one of
something.
that.
And I'm like,
Uh-huh. It's amazing how much they listen. It's very intrusive. The algorithm.
so what yes. So what is a
Okay.
dungeon and how did you figure out this was something that you were going to create?
Okay, so the best way to answer your question is to describe my style a little bit first, right? So my
Okay.
style is a mixture between being sensual and intimidating. I like the
Mhm.
combination of both, right? I like the idea of walking towards somebody with something that looks scary or crazy, and they go, "Oh my God, what you about to do to that?" Their heart is literally ready to jump out of their chest. And then when I start to educate them and empower them on, how I would use something like this, how it feels, and how it's not as crazy as it looks, again, that creates excitement within them. And it also provides that bit of a mind fuck because it still looks scary. It still looks foreign and crazy, but it also, when they're experiencing it, it's like, oh my God, it doesn't feel so bad. An example of that would be fire play, right? I use knife play, electric play, fire play, which happens to be one of my favorite things to engage in. But honestly, and understandably so, so many people are intimidated by fire, and rightfully so. I mean, the idea of putting fire on your skin or your nipples or even your pussy sounds insane. Right.
Don't be blowing my
Right.
hair.
You know what I'm saying?
This real
Yeah,
hair right here.
exactly. Uh, but when you understand the science behind it, the reason that the fire